Welcome to the Hudson Show. Coming up, are we actually going to start calling it the Gulf of America?
Also, are robots closer to taking over?
All that and more on the way next.
Now, I've seen on airplanes video before of flight attendants having to physically restrain passengers by duct taping them to the seat.
Mm-hmm.
I knew they could do that. It feels a little extreme, but you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
I never thought they would have to do this. But on a flight, it seems from San Francisco to Fiji, the island nation of Fiji, there's video of flight attendants not only restraining a woman with duct tape, but also duct taping her mouth because she wouldn't stop screaming allegedly racist and vulgar things.
Oh, my goodness.
They had to shut her up with duct tape.
Oh, man. Yeah. Reading this story, and also there's some video from it as well, obviously, because people have to take video whenever they see an incident like this.
Yeah.
So we get to see the lovely events unfold on this plane. But it just looks sad. That's all I can describe it as.
It is sad. And I don't even understand it because you're going to Fiji.
Right.
Why would you? What about flying to Fiji? How could you not be in a good mood?
Right.
How could you not be hopping on that plane with a smile ear to ear on your face? And instead, she's hopping on that plane and starts screaming epithets for some reason. I don't know. I don't understand it at all. And, I wish that the flight attendant doesn't have to go to these lengths to get her to be quiet. And I'm sure that, that's a long flight. I don't think the entire time she was just sitting there after they duct taped her mouth. I don't think she was sitting there quietly. I bet you she was still, and what is actually worse? Definitely the racist stuff. But that's the close, that'd also be annoying.
Yeah, they definitely said that it continued throughout. Apparently, it was like a situation where this woman was intoxicated, not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband, I guess, that she was traveling with no longer wanted to sit with her. I don't know what was going on.
Why not?
I don't know what was happening, but he no longer wanted to sit with her, so he requested to be moved. They moved him. She kept asking where he'd been moved to. They wouldn't tell her, and so she just kicked off. And then, of course, things had to get more insane when they were restraining her.
Mm-hmm.
This self-proclaimed preacher got up and started saying that she was possessed and started to say things. And so it was just an overall very chaotic scene. I feel bad for anyone that was on that flight.
Yeah, because all those people, too, they're thinking I'm about to the majority of them, I'm going on a nice vacation. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling great. And maybe there's a long flight. I'll probably sleep through it. No, you won't.
Nope.
No, you will not. But the good news for everybody except the woman on the plane is they landed in Fiji. The woman that was cursing anyways.
Yeah.
And so they all, hopefully it'll be easy for them to forget and move on because they get to enjoy probably a nice island vacation.
Yes. Hopefully it'll all be fine in the end.
What a move by the husband, though. He requested to be moved before she went on a racist tirade.
Apparently she was already starting to kick off a little bit, but it wasn't getting too out of hand.
Yeah.
And then I guess enough nearby passengers were like, I'm tired of covering my child's ears. Can you please just make this woman stop? So, yeah.
In other words, this is not the first time for the husband that this has happened.
It seems like he's used to having to separate himself.
This is a pattern for her. Well, maybe he'll just ask to not sit next to her permanently for the rest of his life. Just a heads up. There might be a change coming to Google Maps very soon. They have announced that they will be following along with the Trump administration's executive order that came recently to rename the Gulf of Mexico the Gulf of America and to rename Denali, which is a mountain in Alaska, Mount McKinley again. Mm-hmm. And that will take effect. It's not taking effect yet because I was just looking. But they say that once the Geographic Names Information System is updated, then Google will follow along with that. And presumably the Geographic Names Information System will be updated soon at the behest of this executive order. This is one of those things that Donald Trump said. I think it was like right before he actually took the oath of office again. Mm-hmm. And he says a lot of things, and you're like, is he actually going to do that? Like, what difference does it make? And then he actually did it.
He did it.
And now Google's like, okay, I guess we got to listen.
I mean, it definitely feels fully symbolic. It has no, I guess, usefulness to it. It's just like, oh, we're going to rename it this.
Yeah, what difference does it actually make to anybody?
Not much, but...
Although you wouldn't know it to look online.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, to some people, it became very sacred that it was called the Gulf of Mexico this whole time, which I don't even know who decided that.
Right. That's the thing is it's like, I feel like when a politician gets behind it, that's how you see, I guess political barriers start to show up, where people are like, oh, that politician who I don't like said we're going to name it this. So I hate that name.
Yeah, that's right. I always loved calling it the Gulf of Mexico. Right. It was one of my favorite things.
Suddenly you're very sentimental about it.
And I said it all the time, too.
Yeah.
The Gulf of Mexico. It's just fun to say.
I talked about it all the time.
Mexico.
I mean, the Gulf of America is going to get, it's going to take a while to get used to. And I have to say, that was for me, Mount McKinley.
Yeah. I didn't even know they changed it.
They changed it in 2015 to Mount Denali. And I, for years, still called it McKinley because, I mean, that's just, it was ingrained in my mind as it was McKinley. So, it'll take a hot second for us to probably switch over to Gulf of America. But yeah.
I like that they've changed it back to the Mount McKinley, not because of anything about McKinley or Denali, whatever those things mean. But at least now I know it's a mountain. Yeah. And if you told me Denali, I thought you were talking about like a GMC vehicle. I really didn't know. That was very confusing to me. So I'm glad that they've put that back the way that it used to be. But I think, to me, this feels like when somebody said, okay, Pluto's not a planet anymore.
Yeah.
Like all of us that have lived enough of our lives where Pluto was a planet or when it was called the Gulf of Mexico. And apparently, we didn't even know it was not, at least to me, I didn't know it wasn't Mount McKinley. And so, I think it's always going to be the Gulf of Mexico to me, no matter what Google Maps says.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't come up very often. So,
yeah, I was going to say, when do we even talk about it that much in, our day-to-day lives? And so that's why I don't think you need to make a big deal out of this. It's not that big of a deal. And so, yeah, I just feel like if you're freaking out about this, you need to get your priorities straight.
Yeah, that was just one of many executive orders that have already been signed by Donald Trump. And I'm sure there's probably others that you probably, if you thought about it, would be more upset about than the Gulf of Mexico one.
I'm sure there's others that matter a lot more than renaming the Gulf of Mexico.
You got to stay focused. Focus on what's important. And I don't think the Gulf of Mexico is that important, at least the name of it. Starbucks continues to slowly and surely make changes to, what they used to be. They got a new CEO a while back, and he's got a lot of things he wants to do differently, although in a way, the same as they were before the other CEO was there. The new change is that now if you go to Starbucks and you order for here, they very likely will give you an actual glass or an actual ceramic mug for your drink, instead of the typical paper or plastic cup that you would take for a to-go order.
Oh.
Now, some people appreciate this, of course, because it makes it feel, and the idea is to make it feel a little more like, I think the words the CEO Brian Nickel used is it makes it a more inviting place to linger.
Okay.
Because you've got a mug that you can't walk away with, and you just feel it feels more at home. Yeah. Feels a little more comfortable. However, for some reason, I don't really know the exact reasoning. They're just like, well, this is annoying. And that includes many Starbucks employees for some reason, and some that just really prefer getting the old plastic or paper cups for their drinks.
I'm sure for the Starbucks employees, they're like, well, now we have to clean all of these. That adds an extra task to our job. And I get that. I've worked in, this type of environment before, and I understand how that stuff can get piled up and can get annoying.
Well, if they've got the dishwasher that you just pull down the lever on it, that's actually easier. Fun and easy. Yeah,
that makes it easier.
That's like the best job you can have. I mean, you don't get tips, but it is easy.
Yeah, so hopefully
that's why they always put me back there.
Hopefully they're equipped with that. But obviously, if you're not used to doing that, it may seem annoying at first. But I think this is a fun idea. I mean, when you go to a sit-down restaurant, you get like a glass, that's an actual like glass.
Yeah, it feels better.
Or if you order coffee, you get an actual mug. And so, I mean, it makes sense. If you order to sit down, maybe you want something like this. It's also probably, less wasteful.
That's one of the main positives that Starbucks is touting, besides that it makes you more likely for you to stay and linger a little while. They also say that it will help them reach their sustainability goals because they are attempting by 2030 to make 100% of their cups compostable, recyclable, or reusable. Obviously, if they're giving you actual mugs or glasses inside the store, those are reusable until they fully break, or at least get the little chips in them that are harbors for bacteria.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is a great idea. I mean, here's the thing. I don't drink coffee, so I'm not like into the Starbucks world or whatever. So I guess I shouldn't really have too much of a preference.
But they have there's more to Starbucks than coffee, Allie.
That's true.
There's like juicy things that they have there too. That's what the glasses would be for.
Yeah. But I would imagine that if you were a person that's like, I'm gonna come in and stay for a little bit, but then I want to be able to take my cup with me as I leave, it might be a little annoying for that.
Well, I don't want to speak for Starbucks here.
Okay.
But I'm almost 100% sure that if you say, I'm ordering for here, but I want it in a to-go cup, they'll just do that for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. If
fact,
you are asking for it, they will do it.
In fact, you can do what I do at many restaurants to save on tax, and that is say it's to go, even though it's for there. That saves a couple cents every time I go to a restaurant.
It does, but that's not very fair of you.
Well, I never know when I might want to go.
Well, fair enough, but that extra like money, I think, is also to help them with like paying their employees who have to then go clean the table after you just ate
it's a
at
tax.
it.
No, it's a tax.
Oh, there's a special tax for you to sit in?
Depending on where you are, yeah. And so I just order to go just to be safe. Unless it's at Cracker Barrel or something.
Yeah.
And then they don't do to go, do they?
I don't know.
Allie, you've heard this before, right? I want a man in finance with a trust fund, 6'5", and blue eyes.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, that's not what people want anymore.
Okay. Oh, okay.
That's according to The League, one of the popular dating apps these days. The League surveyed thousands of singles on what is the best profession to have, the most attractive profession to have. And what they found is great news for those who work in healthcare. Doctor, specifically, is the top career choice for potential daters.
Oh, I wonder why.
26% of people looking for a doctor above all else when it comes to dating.
I mean, that just sounds like it's just a spicier version of, looking for a man in finance. Because if they're a doctor, they're also making a lot of money.
Yeah, but I feel like doctors, they make a lot of money, but they also have a lot of debt.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, I mean, they're in school for many years.
And I feel like having a doctor as a partner would be frustrating.
Okay.
Because if you have a mechanic as a partner, you can be like, hey, my car's not working. And I think the mechanic can just help you.
Right.
Like they can just do it in your driveway. I don't think you can just be like, hey, honey, I broke my leg. Like, you still have to go to the hospital and stuff. You don't get a discount, I don't think.
Well, I mean, you might.
You think? There's a friends and family discount for doctors?
If he has his own family practice.
Maybe.
Then
I feel like you still have to go through insurance and everything.
Yeah, but
it might be easier because it's somebody you trust.
Right.
But other than that, I feel like it's not going to save you any money.
Yeah.
Is what I'm concerned about.
Well, it might. Yeah, I think you're underestimating the appeal of this. But also,
doctors chime in.
Yeah, doctors, let us know if there is a way for you to kind of work around this if your spouse or significant other was injured or needed medical assistance and you were the one doing it, or are you able to?
But also,
you look like you just had an epiphany.
No, well, I was just thinking, like, if you're a mechanic. Oftentimes the last thing you want to do once you get home is do more mechanic things.
That's true.
Like, to me, the last thing I want to do when I leave here is start talking more. Maybe if you're a doctor, like, it doesn't matter. Whatever profession you are, you don't want to do it when you're off the clock.
Sure.
Even if it is for your husband or wife.
What? I don't about that. I mean, if you're a doctor and you have an oath that you have, gone under.
Yeah.
I don't think you're going to be like, oh man, honey, I'm way too tired to help you out with your broken leg right now.
I don't think you would deny them. I just think you would say, yeah, talk to me when I'm on the clock. Right now, it's Dr. Jones's problem because he's the one clocked in right now.
I'm sure sometimes that would be the case. And if it's your significant other, you would feel that out. You would know like what not to talk about. But yeah, I don't think it's a situation where if you're in a relationship where your a significant other is like, there's certain things that are like taboo, you can't talk to me about.
Yeah.
That's not a great sign.
Also, there's more to people than just their profession in a relationship.
Yes.
And how it can benefit you.
I would 100% agree. And that's why I don't particularly like this survey. And it is very varied. I mean, as you can see, the number one winning one was healthcare, but that's only 26% of the surveyors.
Yeah.
Like the people that answered. And so that's not a lot. It's not even majority.
I'm looking at the other choices too that were near the top. Education was number 2. Then emergency response workers, which is nice because, like they deserve the love they get because they're doing a very important job. But at the same time, like you want to go out with somebody that has insane hours, like the emergency response workers, you don't know, are you going to have a good weekend with them or are they going to need to help somebody?
To be fair, they did say, I think this survey was framed in a way of like, what is the most attractive profession?
Okay.
And I will say as a woman, yes, when it's a firefighter, police officer, EMT, whatever, that is a very attractive profession.
Is it the
it's like
suspenders?
No, it's like they're a hero, they're going out and saving people.
Because I feel like all of them wear suspenders too.
Well, the firefighters, I think, do. I don't know about police officers.
Some of the other ones that came in near the top, law, business, science, and tech. And that covers basically all of it, unless you're in construction or fast food. Apparently, those not very attractive. Sorry
about that.
Everybody.
I'm surprised construction is so low because I feel like that one has also been higher up, but yeah,
that can be a cash cow too. Construction.
It's true.
Yeah, I think that they're getting underestimated.
Yeah, plumbers.
Yeah.
That's a cash cow right there.
Now, if you're a celebrity, no longer do you have to worry about cancel culture coming for your head. That's not because cancel culture has been stopped in its tracks, but instead because a insurance agency known as Samfire Risk has launched their new cancel culture insurance policy for those who fear being canceled one day. What does the cancel culture insurance policy come with? They call it Preempt. You get crisis management communication services designed to help you minimize the damage done by online outrage. You also get 60 days of communications work after your inciting offense that will work to negate negative coverage on both social media and in traditional media, and access to a 24/7 hotline. This is not what I was expecting.
Okay, what were you expecting?
I thought that it was literally like if you get canceled for some reason, you get compensated for the lost money that you presumably would have made if you had not ever been canceled.
Oh.
Like that's what insurance means to me, doesn't it?
Sure, but also if you are a celebrity, it costs money for PR.
That's true.
So this would be, you're already paying for that PR to be done.
And it might be harder once you get canceled to find somebody to step in and do PR for you.
Exactly.
In the time when you need it most.
I suppose, yeah.
So you preemptively get this.
If you have a fair weather friend for your PR team.
Yeah, your publicist. Yeah. Now, I don't know that it wouldn't be public who buys this, but it would be telling, wouldn't it? The people that are like, well, I'm not so sure what's back on my Twitter and other video comments I may have made back in the day. So just to be sure, let me purchase the cancel culture insurance.
This seems awfully close to like the whole, the Diddy list is coming soon thing.
Interesting timing to say the least.
Yes, there's a lot of stuff floating around right now that's, exposing some celebrities in situations as far as like they're, maybe in some bad company.
Yeah.
So it doesn't seem like oddly timed at all.
No, definitely not. I don't think they're related in any way. I do think that this is interesting too, because I feel like it's such a small amount of people that have been like actually functionally canceled, where like they cannot make money anymore the way they used to. They might have to change the venue in which they make money. But I feel like for people that have been canceled, it's either usually very justifiable, or they aren't really canceled. You know, like it's a very small minority of people that have been unjustifiably canceled to me.
Right. I will say I'm not a huge fan of cancel culture in general. I do think it's a mob mentality. And so overall, I'm not a fan of that.
Yeah.
But I also do feel like the tides have shifted in recent years, and people have started to realize like this cancel culture thing is very toxic. Mm-hmm. And, there's especially, we were just talking about God and, making good of the time that you have in this life and in this world and all of that. And so as a person that believes in God, as a person that is a Christian, I believe in the redeeming nature of God. And so I never believe that someone can truly be canceled and cannot be, saved and changed in their life. And so I find cancel culture to be completely antithetical to my morals and beliefs as a Christian.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too, especially when it's one thing that was a long time ago that like may very well be wrong, but everybody has something at some point that they probably said or done that they regret. And if we started canceling every single person that has that, we would be left with not much of us left.
Right.
That said too, I also feel like some people are just able to power through being canceled.
And
that, and
they actually love it.
Some people almost want to be canceled, it seems. But I think that if you do, in many cases, again, this is not I don't want this to be a blanket statement, but a lot of times if you get canceled and you can't power through it means that people just didn't like you that much in the first place. Like if it wasn't that, it was going to be something else. People just didn't like you,
I guess.
And so no matter how much insurance you have, your time was coming. The Chinese culture fascinates me. This is so interesting. In China right now, according to the South China Morning Post, it has become more of a trend for men in China to wear so-called Adam's apple bras. They are a little strap. It straps around your neck, and then it has kind of a bigger piece that would go over your Adam's apple. The idea was put forth by a Chinese influencer that is a female woman who describes the Adam's apple for a man as a sensitive area. And so similar to how a woman wouldn't be topless, neither then should a man be exposing his Adam's apple. And thus the men there should start wearing Adam's apple bras in the spirit of equality and empowering women. And so some guys have started doing that. I have pictures here.
I'm looking at the photos, and basically how I describe it is it looks like almost like a pirate eye patch.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Just on the neck. It looks so dumb. What are you doing? It's
a great way to add some flair and fashion to your outfit, whether you want to do the most popular one, which is based off of a pig's snout. Which is real cute, or you want to go with like a pattern on there. I feel like, we already have other ways of doing that, of taking care of this issue that I kind of prefer here in the United States, like ascots are one good way that you can that you can cover up your indecent area on in the center of your throat if you're a man. Bow ties, I guess they don't go quite up high enough, right? Turtlenecks. What about turtlenecks? There are other ways, but this is one way to go about it.
Yeah, this is a no from me. As a woman, I will tell you, men, don't do this. It's not attractive. It looks absolutely ridiculous in my opinion.
Allie, everything isn't about being attractive.
Okay, but I'm just saying, if you are a single man and are contemplating whether you should wear a Adam's apple bra, I will tell you, don't do that. I don't know a single man in my life that would, and thank goodness, because this looks very dumb.
I think that's one of the great things about our country, is that we're sitting here talking about this, but I really would be surprised if anybody's going, that's a good idea. The Adam's apple bra. Why didn't I think of that? Unless they were thinking of selling it to people that would buy it.
Yeah.
That is a market we could get into.
I am worried that there are some people in the world that would want to wear this, but I do feel like for the most part, this would be a no from most men.
There may be something that's lost in translation.
That's
here,
true.
Because I understand if it's coming from the place of women are in some ways looked down upon still in China or something like that. And so that's what the woman said. She's trying to make everything equal and fair, whatever. I don't know if this is there must be better ways to me.
I was going to say, how does this help with equality? I don't really know.
Levels the playing field.
Yeah.
You don't understand the advantage that I have, Allie, by being able to expose my Adam apple.
By just having your Adam's apple.
Yeah. It's actually, yes. The places I've gotten in life because of my Adam's apple.
Yeah.
Being exposed. The list goes on. I intend to continue adding to it. Yesterday on the show, we talked about Wayne Gretzky, the only player in the NHL to have his number 99 retired across the entire league.
Yep.
Him and Jackie Robinson, I believe, are the only two in the four major sports that share that distinction. Their jersey number retired across the entire league. And not one entire day after we mentioned that, did Tyler Reed of the Big Lead come along and say he thinks that it's time we stop retiring jersey numbers altogether.
Okay.
So what I want to do is I want to hear what you have to say, Allie, but I also want to open up the Hudson hotline.
877-2-RADIO-U.
Is it time we stop retiring jersey numbers in sports? I'll tell you why he brought it up in the first place.
Okay, yeah. What?
Probably because he heard us talking about retiring numbers on the Hudson Show.
Of course.
But it's actually because, and I didn't know this, that over the weekend, the formerly New Jersey, now Brooklyn Nets retired Vince Carter's number, a.k.a. VC, a.k.a. Vinsanity, a.k.a. Air Canada, a.k.a. Yoda.
I didn't know Yoda was a nickname for him.
A.k.a. Half Man, Half Amazing, a.k.a. Flying Man, a.k.a.
I think
Sunshine.
we've had enough. I think we've had enough.
Just so you know, all of Vince Carter's nicknames, according to basketballreference.com. The Brooklyn Nets retired Vince Carter's number over the weekend. I had to look it up because I didn't even know he played for the Brooklyn Nets. He played for them for 4.5 seasons.
Okay.
Made the playoffs 3 times. And that was enough for him to get his number retired.
I mean, I guess that is a pretty big deal for the Nets.
Sure.
That's pretty good for them.
Now, the argument, before I hear from you, the argument that Tyler Reed makes of the Big Lead is that, retiring numbers are a way to honor the players and their contributions to the franchise or to the league. But he thinks it would be better to honor those players by letting their number continue to be worn by other players. So then when you see, for example, Michael Jordan, if you saw somebody wearing number 23, you would still think of Michael Jordan when you saw that new player wearing number 23. Or Jackie Robinson, you would think of him instead of just one day a year. You'd think of him every time you saw somebody wearing 42 throughout the baseball season, rather than having him up, in his words, up a dusty banner in the rafters in the nosebleed somewhere.
I don't know if I agree with that. And here's the thing. I get what he means by carrying on that legacy, but also what if a player wears it that's not a great person? They don't live up to that legacy, or they're also just maybe not a great player. Now you would hope that it would be given to a player that deserves that number, deserves that mantle. So maybe it could be an honor, but it feels like you'd be running a risky business there of potentially dishonoring that player by giving that number to the wrong person.
Yeah. Actually, that you do bring up a good point that, and I know in many colleges, there are certain numbers that are reserved. I can't remember what the number is, actually, to be honest with you, but Syracuse has a history of very impressive running backs in their past, going back way back in the day. And so that number that was worn by some of their great running backs in the past is now reserved, where you can only wear it if you're supposedly so a certain level of greatness that is expected of you at Syracuse. And that is something that other colleges carry out. So that's another way of doing it that still honors the number.
Yeah.
But then who gets to decide when the person is good enough to wear the number?
Bro, and also sometimes it may not always be so cut and dry. At first they may be a good stand-up person, and then something comes out later down the line and you're like, oh, not so much anymore. We made the mistake of giving that number to such and such person who's now a murderer. I don't know. I can see something stupid like that happening.
That's that's an extreme example, but sure.
Well, of course it would happen. They'd be like, we're bringing back number 42 to honor Jackie Robinson. And we give it to a player who ends up being a serial killer.
It's only a matter of time. Yes. I guess you may be right about that. Well, let's have the Hudson hotline open here.
877-2-RADIO-U.
Which side do you fall on? Should we stop retiring numbers in sports and let players just be free to wear whichever number they want? Or is it important to honor the players that were great and wore these numbers in the past by retiring them and putting them up in the rafters somewhere? Send us your thoughts at 877-2-RADIO-U. We've got the Hudson hotline open.
877-2-RADIO-U.
Asking, is it time to stop retiring numbers in sports? Some good thoughts coming in, like Paul, who says they should stop retiring numbers. Rick Nash's number, 61, right, should not be in the rafters at Nationwide for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I do feel like even if you're still pro retiring numbers, that the bar for retiring a number has been lowered over the years. Oh, for sure. I was looking this up, and this, by the way, I stand corrected. Bill Russell has a number retired across the entire NBA. I forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Bill Russell, a legend.
Yeah.
Absolute legend.
But I was like, the Oklahoma City Thunder retired somebody ridiculous's number recently. It was Nick Collison.
Well, the Oklahoma City Thunder have not been around that long.
I know, so they shouldn't be retiring numbers yet.
I'm just saying they will have a lower bar just by the fact that they have not been around that long.
No, nobody's forcing you to retire numbers.
Well, they might want to just do it for fun.
That is, that's the problem with it. That's the problem. It's not for fun. It's to honor somebody.
I don't get why that's a problem. It's their franchise. Let them do it. Why does it impact you?
There's only so many numbers.
You're not an OKC Thunder fan. You don't care about that number.
I don't know that many OKC Thunder fans are like, we had to, of course, Nick Collison, all the contributions he made, we have to retire his number. But I don't get right. Maybe I'm wrong.
There could be underlying reasons. I also know people that retire numbers if there's a situation like, let's say they died tragically,
sure.
Maybe cancer's involved or something like that. So I just feel like to judge them, and be like, well, there needs to be some type of parameter, blah, blah, blah. It's so arbitrary.
What I'm saying is, if you are you're a young franchise like the OKC Thunder, and you start off by retiring Nick Collison's number, you're going to wind up like the Yankees, who have like 20 out of 100 numbers they can't use anymore because they've retired so many, which that is deserved because those players were great players.
I was going to say they've had like some of the best players ever in baseball.
But if you're retiring Nick Collison, what if you actually have great players one day? And you're the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like, they're going to have to retire SGA.
There's no guarantee.
Dee says, I like what Dee says. She says, I think it's okay to retire numbers, or in a case of the Dallas Cowboys, they don't call them retired. They just pulled them out of circulation. Do you honestly think another Texas Ranger could successfully wear number 34 like Nolan Ryan?
Nope.
Or another Cowboy could wear number 12 like Roger Staubach? That's right.
Exactly.
Sometimes players just hit that top tier and you don't want to mess with it anymore.
And I think for the most part, we would argue that many retired numbers are like that. They're so iconic with that certain player for that franchise that you're just like, it would be wrong for someone else to wear it.
Right.
And that's what I think my first argument was getting to. It's like, it's almost dishonoring their legacy by giving it to somebody else.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. But the standards need to be higher. Higher than Nick Collison.
How does the OKC Thunder impact you, Hudson?
All due respect. It just doesn't need to be done. It diminishes all retired numbers.
No, it doesn't.
Across all sports.
No.
When you retire Nick Collison.
Congratulations, Nick Collison.
It is a food fight on the Hudson Show. In this case, we are drinking the new Dr. Pepper Blackberry. We have both versions here, both the regular version and the zero sugar version because I like to watch my calorie intake. Allie, which one would you like to start with?
I feel like let's start with the OG, so the one that's like the normal one, I guess, without the zero sugar.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's this one, right?
Yes, that is the one in the boring cup. It is 250 calories per bottle, if you're wondering.
250 calories. I have to say, this smells delicious. Like, it smells really good.
It actually does smell very good.
Yeah.
Almost like you're at Bath and Body Works or something.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'll say, so I tasted it here. Go ahead. Okay. I don't get a lot of Dr. Pepper flavor with it. Unusually, the blackberry flavor is overpowering the other 23 flavors that normally you associate with Dr. Pepper. And so I'm getting much more of the berryness to this.
I really like it. I think it tastes great. I agree with you about that.
Yeah, it doesn't if you didn't know it's Dr. Pepper, you might not. And you just tasted this, I don't know if you would be able to determine that just based off of just taste alone.
Right.
Which I guess some would say is a positive, some would say is a negative.
Yeah. Well, let's see how the zero sugar stacks up.
Yeah, because realistically, no matter how good it is, I probably would never drink a full sugar soda anymore.
Yeah.
250 calories, no thank you.
Drink 250 calories. That's a lot of calories.
Other unhealthy calories I need to intake that'll make me happier than any soda could ever do.
Mm-hmm. All right, you go first because I want to see what you think.
It's so weird to me.
Okay.
How often, whenever we get new flavors of soda and they do the zero sugar in the regular version, you have them side by side, and they taste entirely different. This does not taste like the other one at all.
No.
It feels like an entirely different soda, even though you would think the only ingredient that's different is like corn syrup versus whatever fake sweetener they use.
Yeah, but there's the chemicals that they have to use to try and make it something that would be like tasty to us. For it not to have calories, do kind of add that weird like aftertaste sometimes.
Yeah.
So I always kind of struggle with the zero sugar ones because of that. I do drink Diet Coke, and that does kind of have a similar problem sometimes, but I've gotten used to that, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, I do think the regular overall tastes better.
Yeah, I actually agree. The Blackberry Dr. Pepper zero sugar version, it tastes entirely different, and it's not a good taste. And then it has, because I feel like not all zero sodas have that aftertaste anymore. The technology is advanced in an amazing way.
Yeah.
To where you don't have to realize you're drinking a zero sugar soda all the time. But that one you definitely can tell.
Yeah, I don't have that aftertaste when I drink Diet Coke, but for that one, it's like immediate. We're like, oh, okay, there's a difference there.
Yeah, it doesn't taste right. So, just to be clear, I know there's some people out there that are like, the real version is always better than the zero.
Yeah,
that's not me.
Yeah,
I drink a lot of zeros.
Right.
This real version is better. The real version, to my surprise, legitimately pretty good.
Yeah, I think the real version tastes amazing. I was actually very pleasantly surprised. Like you said, though, I probably won't be going and buying this, though, because of the fact that it's, full sugar, full calorie, all of that.
Yeah, we're too health conscious here for full sugar
soda. We're so healthy here at the Hudson Show.
We're so healthy. We eat popcorn for lunch. But we can't drink Dr. Pepper. I'm worried. I'm concerned that I'm going to get coerced into running a half marathon at some point.
Coerced?
Yeah, I feel like because you think about how I try to walk to stay in shape, right?
Yeah.
That's like the maximum amount of exercise I'm willing to put in. Mm-hmm. But it's just hit the point where that's not enough.
Okay.
And I need to do more.
Okay.
And so what can you do next besides walk is run.
Yes.
And then I see this, that in China, they are organizing this April the very first ever humans versus robots half marathon. For the first time ever, humans and robots will be competing against each other in a race, about 13 miles, of course, because it's a half marathon, to determine, it's supposed to encourage tech companies in China to, push themselves to be able to come up with a humanoid robot that can achieve what a human could achieve. to me, I feel like it may almost be my duty as a human to not just run for me, but to run for our entire human race, to defeat the robots and remind them who's in charge. And it's me.
Well, I don't think that would be incredibly hard to do. I believe not too long ago, we talked about the fastest robot in the world, which was not very fast in, human standard as far as running. So it was nowhere near like the fastest humans, and not even near like most average humans as far as speed goes. And also, even if you're thinking, well, they'll just outrun me because they can run longer.
Yeah.
Robots still don't have the technology to run that long most of the time anyways. And so a lot of them can only run for like 30 minutes before they have to stop.
So you're saying that I should be able to win?
I think you're safe.
I think I can do it. The parameters of the race, the robots have to be between 1.5 and 6.5 feet tall, and they cannot have wheels, of course. That would be unfair.
Absolutely.
I don't know if the same requirements apply to humans in the race. Do they have to be under 6.5 feet tall?
I don't know.
I don't know. It doesn't say here, but people have told me before that I have a runner's body.
Okay.
And so I feel even more that it may be my...
your destiny?
My destiny, yes. It may be, you don't get to choose your destiny oftentimes, but it just may be what I must do is take my runner's body, my long, luscious legs, and generally thin physique, and challenge the robots in this half marathon and defeat them.
I think that is right. That's exactly what you need to do.
Someone has to do it.
You got to travel to China.
And there's no one else besides me that I've heard say that they're up for the challenge.
Yeah, no one in this half marathon thinks they can do it.
Do you think I could train for a half marathon in the span of basically 3 months?
As a person that's never run before, like you have never run before. I do run. I run, but I don't run that far of a distance in my running. I usually go about 3 miles is the most I do in one run. But I would, if you really pushed it, you could probably get it done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I train every day anyways.
Well, you need to start running.
Yeah, I know, but I already have the time set aside.
Yeah. If you start running 30 minutes a day, then and start working your way up, you could probably get there.
This is what I'm afraid of is the time commitment.
Yeah.
I only have 30 minutes, and I know half marathons take more time than that.
They take a little bit longer depending on how fast you go, but yeah, they would take a little longer than that.
But for the human race, I just feel like I must. I feel like a calling upon me. To defeat the robots in whatever way I can.
This music is very fitting behind you right now. It's like very encouraging.
We have to start a slow clap. We all have to defeat the robots however we can. We all have to do our part. I don't have very many parts I can do, but maybe running is.
No one can see me right now, but I'm cheering Hudson on in the background.
Thanks for listening to The Hudson Show. Please don't forget to rate and review the podcast.